Senate Republicans are out this week with a 7-point jobs plan, an effort to pressure voters and reassure voters that the party's focus on deficit reduction hasn't distracted them from the #1 concern of most Americans, jobs. Ohio Senator Rob Portman is the former budget director for President George W. Bush. He drafted the plan. He serves on the Senate Budget Committee and joins us now. Senator, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Nora, thanks for having me on.
All right. How do you create jobs with this plan?
Well, first of all, the jobs issue is totally related to the budget issue you've been talking to your other guests about. It's very difficult for us to get out from under this huge overhang of deficits and debts at record levels unless we do two things. One is restrain the spending, which there's been a lot of discussion about, and we need to do. But second, we need to grow this economy. And this jobs plan is a really simple, common sense, and I hope bipartisan effort to say, let's have tax reform that actually gets the economy moving again. Economists across the spectrum believe that should happen. It was part of the President's Fiscal Commission report. Regulatory relief. Small businesses are stifled in terms of their ability to create jobs because of the increasing regulations and the uncertainty that comes from more regulations. Let's expand our exports, which the President has the opportunity to do right now with these three trade opening agreements. 250,000 new jobs would be created. So these are the kind of common sense things that are in our plan. It's really just a blueprint for success for the American people by getting folks back to work and helping on the budget situation.
Senator, let me ask you, because I think, as you point out, that the budget situation is tied to the job situation. And one of the things in your blueprint is to require a balanced budget amendment that would also require some sort of statutory spending limits. Most people would say, good idea, right? Let's not overspend. And yet we continue to overspend. And I guess the question I have is that most of the Republicans in the House voted for Paul Ryan's budget, and it does not balance the budget until 2030, and it doesn't reduce the deficit until 2040. So what's up with that?
Well, it's certainly a huge improvement from our current trajectory and a vast improvement from the budget, as you know, that the President proposed, which, based on the Congressional Budget Office analysis, doesn't help at all in terms of deficit reduction. So the question is, how do you get to a balanced budget over time? My strong view, and this is why it's reflected in this plan, is we need to have the discipline out there first. 49 states have it, as you know. All of my cities and counties back home in Ohio have it. And that discipline is important, not just in order to get our fiscal house in order, but if we don't show the markets and others that we're going to have that kind of discipline in place, it's tough to get the economy moving. So, again, it's very much related to the economic issues.
Senator, you have heard that the majority leader in the Senate, Harry Reid, the Democrat, has said he's going to bring the Ryan plan to a vote. As a Republican, would you vote in favor of Congressman Paul Ryan's plan that has these cuts in Medicare, yes or no?
Well, I'm in a position now, Nora, where I will probably vote for any plan that is more fiscally conservative. I mean, I am very concerned about where we're headed as a country. I think that at this point, Republicans and Democrats alike need to figure out how to get together and support plans that actually reduce the deficit. The Ryan plan does that. There are going to be other plans out there. I assume in the Budget Committee next week we'll have a few different plans offered. You'll probably see me supporting several of them, because I think at this point, if we don't get a hold of our deficit and debt and get out of this deep fiscal hole we found ourselves in, we're not going to be able to bring the economy back. We risk the kind of debt crisis that we've seen in Greece and other countries, and of course that would be horrible for our economy and our ability to get people back to work. So I think we're at a turning point here, and we really need to embrace something real. I hope the discussions are successful today at the Blair House. I also hope the Gang of Six is successful. We can't continue this partisan paralysis. We have to make decisions.
Senator, I hope that's true. I know certainly the American people do, that we're at a turning point and that there's enough people sort of pulling for some sort of agreement that people will finally be able to compromise and sacrifice on both sides of the aisle to actually get something done. Finally, let me ask you, you serve on the Armed Services Committee. There were 3 senators on the Armed Services Committee yesterday who said incorrectly that they had seen photos of a dead Osama bin Laden, including Senator Scott Brown of Massachusetts. What do you think happened?
I don't know. I heard the reports as well. I wasn't shown the photographs. It's a tough issue in terms of whether to show the photographs or not. And I'm deferring to the experts who have looked at the photo, which I haven't, and then those who can analyze what the impact would be. The positive, of course, is...
You support the president in his decision not to release the photos?
I do. I mean, I think we have to defer to those, again, who have seen the photo, which I have not, and those who understand what the pros and cons are in terms of the impact on the Mideast. The positive, of course, is that it's more definitive proof. The negative is what the consequences could be in the Mideast when we have troops in Iraq and Afghanistan, and a lot of U.S. civilians in Afghanistan, where I just was a couple weeks ago, who we need to be sure and protect. So it's a tough decision, but I'll support the president on this one.
Senator Portman out with the jobs plan today and a blueprint. Senator, good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Nora. Thanks for having me on again.